Welcome to the SMB Community Podcast with hosts Amy Babinchek, James Kernan, and Carl Polachek. Produced by Kernan Consulting and for the international MSP community. We are dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional. Hey everybody, welcome back to the SMB Community Podcast. It's James Kernan with Kernan Consulting, and I'm here again with my partner in crime, Amy Babinchek. Hey, Amy, good morning.
Good morning, James. Good morning from the border of Canada.
Yeah. Why don't you give everybody a quick update of where you're at and what your current situation is?
My current situation is that I'm on my boat and I am anchored out at Harbor Island Wildlife Refuge. And it's over here pretty close to the border of Michigan and Canada. And it is a kind of a gray day, but it's actually just a light wind and kind of pleasant. So
Nice.
I'm enjoying life right now, but I'm also still here talking to you because it's also enjoyable.
All right. Well, I think because you're out floating on the Great Lakes, that's why you have a big smile on your face. So awesome. Well, hey, we have a ton of stuff to cover today, so I'm going to dive right into things. We actually got a great question of the week, and I'll just kind of tee that up. But really, the question that came in is, do you recommend, peer groups for MSP business owners? So do you recommend peer groups? And pretty sure I know what you're going to say.
Well, I'm going to say obviously yes. I mean, for you and I both run peer groups.
Yeah.
Right. And I run mine in the mastermind style small groups where groups of maximum 6, where each person brings questions, because running a business is just answering one question after the other.
Yep.
And none of us are experts in that stuff. So yeah, everybody brings a question and talks about what's new in their business. And then, we use the hive mind of the group that really become your own personal trusted group of great business friends, to help you solve those complicated problems that come up every day while you're running your business.
Yeah. And then Amy, one thing maybe to elaborate on, I think all peer groups are different. I think they're incredibly valuable because of what you learn from your peers, but they're all different. And normally there's kind of an underlying theme, like, is it a growth group? Is it a business owners group? Is it a technical group? Where are you focused? And on your peer groups, where would you categorize yourself? Where would you guys focus?
Our focus is mainly on operations, a little bit of sales, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of hiring always creeps in there, but a lot of this is about operational issues, customer complexities, um, yeah, it sort of runs the gamut, but it's really, generally about the everyday activities of running a business. You're right, though. There are many groups out there that are focused on uh, financials and growth, or they're focused on sales and marketing, or they have that, and those groups run differently too. They're usually led by an expert that's going to tell you how you should be running your business. In my case, everybody comes with their own idea of how they should run their business, and what they're looking for is just a little guidance in this direction or that direction. And that guidance isn't individually given by me; it's given by the group.
Yeah, there's very large peer groups, there's very small peer groups. The one thing I'll say to help everyone understand is I think they're all very, very different based on the company and the leadership team that's running those peer groups. That you tend to adopt the personality of those leaders and the style. Amy, to me, very intelligent, very experienced and knowledgeable, but comes more from the technical side, So I've always thought of your groups being more technical oriented. But, if it's a business owners group, you're going to talk about everything. And my, my claim to fame's always been sales and marketing. So I run, similar to Amy, I run small peer groups, our community. We have groups no bigger than 10 in non-competitive geographies. We have multiple groups, but my goal's always been I wanted to keep my community under 50 people. So we could always over service, always over deliver. I want to know everything about everybody in our groups, you know,
Mhm.
their families, what makes them tick. I think that's really important because some of the peer groups are thousands of people. Some of them dictate what tools you use. And I think both Amy and I kind of leave that up to you. We'll give you recommendations. In my community, we've got strategic partners that I think add value into what we do, and a lot of our members are successful because of the partners that we've selected and the go-to-market partners. But I think all in all, I would just say, you need to kind of check some out and see which one you feel like is the right fit for you. Some are virtual, some are in person. I kind of like doing a combination of that, weekly meetings and then quarterly get-togethers. I think those are important and a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, you'll have to really, if you're thinking about joining a group, you want to really, uh, you know, find out those parameters, right? James just listed a bunch of them. To be clear, though, on the groups that I run, they're not technical. We don't talk about any technical issues. So we're not solving those kinds of problems. What we're really probably focused on mainly is most business owners in this industry do tend to be technical, and
Mhm.
it's learn the business, as they go.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is really filling those gaps on the business side and helping each of those business owners reach the goals that they have. Not here to tell you what sort of business to run, how you should do it exactly, but ways that you can solve the problem that you have today. And we meet once a month, and then we do meet in person once a year.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And one other thing I will say, some peer groups restrict you from joining other ones. I love the idea of multiple peer groups. I love the idea of multiple communities because that's how we learn. And many of my members are parts of several other communities. You know,
Mine too.
good,
Yep.
good. I think we agree on that for sure. Awesome. Okay. So great question. If you've got a question of the week like that, just email it over to james@kernonconsulting.com. Or if you have an opinion on anything Amy and I have talked about, feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. So, hey, another thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know, it's a new book, just started reading it, but it was really the hot topic of conversation at an event I was at just this past week. But the book was called Unreasonable Hospitality. Okay, Unreasonable Hospitality, and it's from Will Guidara. And really, the concept of the book was in the restaurant industry. This successful business owner really focused their energy in training their team, and their whole culture was really success by over delivering on services, giving customers more than what they expected. That's really the concept of the book. But it really bled through the conference I was at. Several people were reading the book as well and talking about, the importance of just giving outstanding customer service and training your entire team on being able to deliver that experience, not just the business owner or not just the customer facing employees, but everybody. And I think we can all agree there's maybe certain employees in our organization that struggle with communicating properly and professionally to our customers. Sometimes they can be rude and come across as being brash and coarse, and you don't want that because a bad phone call like that could end up in a end of contract and the customer moving on. So I don't know if you've had a chance uh,
Yeah.
to to hear
I
about
haven't.
the book or
I have not, but everything you said sounds like it's completely the way that I ran my business.
yeah.
You can always teach someone a new technical skill, but a lot of that customer service skill is sort of inherent. And you mentioned restaurants. There's a little, very small, uh, It's a little more than a hamburger joint. They have a slightly broader menu than that. But it's a small menu. Burgers are their main thing. And there's just something about being in there that is, um, you notice the difference in the wait staff, and it makes you feel more comfortable when you're there. You feel like everything's taken care of. Clearly, everything is running super smoothly. And I looked around one day, and I'm like, why are these people so good at what they do when in so many other restaurants, they just sort of seem to be winging it, or they don't have that level of care. And I did notice that this particular place tends to hire um, older people, like they're probably in their 40s and 50s, most of their staff. And I was thinking, oh, they've got a lot of experience at this, and that's probably what it is that I'm feeling, you know.
Yeah. One other thing that came up, and it was just during a discussion time about the book, and why I wanted to bring this up today is, I don't know, growing up in the industry, I've been part of some bigger organizations. So some MSPs don't have salespeople, but my organizations always did. And I was a leader in the company representing everybody. But the book talked about the conflict between the servers in the kitchen. Okay. There was always fighting, and they used the analogy like every restaurant has infighting between the servers and in the kitchen, and it reminded me of the infighting of sales and technical people, or sales and operations or sales and help desk, whatever you wanna call it. But my whole career, I dealt with that, and it's hard to kind of bring those groups together and make it one big team instead of, two separate teams that had different agendas. So they talked a lot about that, and I think there's a huge overlap, not just in the technology industry for us MSPs, but, for other industries as well. So I thought that was kind of a fun point.
Yeah, sounds like a fun book to read.
Yeah, yeah, so check that out. So a couple other things I wanted to dive into. So I have to tell you, I'm all smiles as well. I'm actually exhausted for a Monday. I think I'm on cup number 3 of coffee, but just had so much fun at the last Mastermind event. And it was right here in Omaha, Nebraska. So we had 55 attendees. We had, probably 16 different speakers from all around the country. But because it was in Omaha, Nebraska, and all the fun activities, we went to a big Brazilian steakhouse. We had a happy hour event Wednesday night. Thursday night, we did a big Brazilian steakhouse as a group. And then Friday night, I actually had a big party at my house. Right after the end of the event, most everybody made it over to the house and entertained everybody till wee hours of the morning, I guess, Friday night. And
I
have
thought you were going to do something with baseball while you were there. Wasn't there a baseball thing going on too?
There was, yeah, the College World Series actually ended up, LSU pulled it out and kinda wrapped it up early, so, we didn't get that
Oh, okay.
opportunity, but there's still lots of other fun things to do, and I'll just say this was probably the funnest event, that I've seen that we've had in all the years of us doing it, but a lot of good learning, great speakers. One comment I had from a first-timer was that, hey, all these big events that we go to, from ChannelCon to GeekCon and, Right of Boom, he said, your lineup of speakers were every bit as good or better than those big events. And he just was really pleasantly surprised. So I was shocked by that because you weren't here, Amy. And
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, I don't know where he's coming from with that. It was clearly a big gaping hole. But,
well,
well, but I agree on the small events. I always like the small events so much better because not only did he get a chance to hear them speak, but he got a chance to meet those people
right.
and to mingle with them afterwards, and ask those questions that occur to you later, hear more of the story.
Yeah.
Much more valuable than sitting in a crowd of 1,000 people.
Yeah, yeah, all of our talks are very interactive, so in the size of the event makes it comfortable for the introvert to still wanna raise their hand and ask questions and make it participative, so just outstanding event. I'm still got goosebumps on my neck. So
Awesome.
fun time. Our next one, I hope to have you on the lineup of speakers. It's gonna be in Tampa, September 25th and 26th, so we'll be, the end of September. Hopefully, you'll be back from your boat trip by then.
Well, if I have to.
So, hey, so lots of other things in the news. I wanted to briefly talk about, the Iranian-Israel conflict. Amy, you and I talked about this last week.
Yep.
And really, the key point was, us as MSPs need to be on high alert. What does that mean to us? Obviously, we're all kind of on standby, hoping and praying that this thing doesn't escalate. It seems like it's just kind of cooled off. Hopefully, the peace talks will continue and there will be no further um, conflict. However, as cybersecurity gurus out in the industry, we really need to be on high alert. So I know you saw that article too. What highlights did you want to kind of point out?
Yeah, so last week we talked about an alert that came out from CISA about the Iranian Guard and their success in the cyber world, particularly attacking various types of critical infrastructure. This week, the FBI, the NSA, um, another agency of the government, they all came out with another warning. It harkens back to that same one, but they did expand it to really all public facing business structure. So, you know, yeah, maybe the war doesn't look like it's escalating, but people have long memories. And, once you drop a bomb on somebody, they're something they're not going to forget.
Yeah.
So, there may not be an immediate escalation, but there's quite likely to be a long tail cyber repercussions for this. And it's definitely something that as MSPs and IT pros that you should be aware of and take a super special look at how you're guarding your clients and make sure everything is as buttoned up as you think it is.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. No, good point. Good point. Also in the news, another, tech company, one of my favorites, Nvidia. What kind of caught my eye on this article was that they were really talking about the opportunity, for you to make a lot of money by buying their stock. But the article was really all about highlighting how the stock in 5 years has risen 1,400%. Okay. However, there were some new executives, and it seems like a lot of people are cashing out right now.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
yeah, the insiders are cashing out. So I don't know if they're just trying to some of those newer employees are trying to line their pockets, but it looked like quite a bit of volume has gone through, and normally that's not a good sign. If the insiders are actually selling stock instead of buying it, that
Yeah. Well, Nvidia has a lot of competition now. They didn't have that competition 5 years ago. Now they have a lot of competition. Like you said, the stock's gone up 1,400%. So how much higher can it go?
yeah,
It go another 1,400%? Probably not. That's kind of a once in a lifetime deal.
right.
So yeah, if you're sitting on a pile of that cash and this stock's gonna probably go into a normal range rather than a speculative range is maybe what they're thinking. This would be a good time to get out.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Oh, good point. Good point. It's also in the news. It looked like Canada is scrapping a tax that prompted the United States to suspend trade talks between Canada and the U.S. Just a few days ago. So this is a current event. They actually had a digital services tax that Canada made billions of dollars on from the U.S., from U.S. tech companies specifically, but it looked like they've scrapped that in the spirit of trying to put together a trade deal for both countries, which I think is great. And obviously, us being in the tech side, hopefully this is going to benefit us as well. So wanted to make sure we talked about that briefly and kind of highlighted it for our Canadian listeners. Um, and then there was another article too that when we talk about kind of the shrinking footprint of desktops out there, Amy and I think even just last week we talked about Windows and 10 end of life coming up here in October, and use that to maybe communicate to your customers. But this article caught my eye. It was really talking about the significant decline of Windows desktops. And I saw the statistic that jumped out to me, Amy, was I think just 3 years ago, 1.4 billion. Microsoft reported 1.4 billion desktops, kind of in corporate America in the United States, and there's been a big decline. Now they're saying it's just just went under a billion. So kind of a loss of 400 million desktops. And I wonder if Windows 10 end of life is going to continue that trend. It sure feels like it.
I don't know, but the question is, where did they go?
Yeah.
Right? People don't need fewer computers today. So where did they go? And they actually just went to different form factors.
Yep.
So, instead of desktops, we have laptops and we have other types of mobile devices. And that trend has been strong. This trend got a big boost with COVID, and it hasn't reversed itself. It's just kept going.
Yeah.
So, and I um if you're not managing those things, there tend to be often they're personally owned. Businesses are letting much more personally owned devices come in, and I talk to MSPs who are like, yeah, we don't allow that, or we refuse to manage those devices. Well, I don't think you can really refuse to do that anymore. That's a part of the network that's basically saying that we're just going to allow this big gaping hole to exist.
Right. Right.
You know, because we're stubborn that way, and we don't own it. We're just going to ignore it and allow all the insecurities that device poses. Just allow those through to the network. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You have to do endpoint monitoring on every device that touches your network. You
Yeah.
absolutely have to.
Yeah. So that, again, it kind of goes back to something we've talked about is, the traditional managed services of us managing desktops and servers. That market just kind of feels like it's slow and it's become very commoditized and kind of shrinking. But it is a missed opportunity if you're not managing those mobile devices. One as technologists, one we should at the bare minimum help them with their bring your own devices to their network policy. And then after they determine yes or no, how are you going to manage that? And then they've got a lot of mobile devices, from iPads to Surface Pros and smartphones. I think that's an opportunity for you to include those in your managed service offering, and protect everything, right?
Protect everything. There isn't anything that doesn't need protecting.
Right.
And this sort of brings us back around to the peer group thing. In my peer groups, this is actually the hottest topic for all size industries. I break up my peer groups into the size of the companies. So when you're in my peer groups, you're with businesses, they're your similar size. But regardless of the size right now, the topic is um, what are we going to do besides the traditional MSP services, because the traditional MSP services are not selling anymore. The
Right.
businesses are just they're not as interested. And so this is one of those items that you have to bring in if you haven't already.
Yeah.
The management of AI is a thing you have to bring in if you haven't already. More training, we have to broaden that definition of the MSPs. The traditional MSP is not going to survive in the AI era. It just
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for more monthly recurring revenue, right?
It
More
is.
devices, more revenue, we
Absolutely. Yep.
could.
Yeah, I think the future is bright, but the future is not bright if you don't change.
Right.
If you stay
Exactly.
stagnant, you'll find a smaller and smaller market out there. That's always been true in our industry, right? I mean, change is what we fly
True.
by.
True. Exactly. Exactly. So a couple other things real quick. You were kind of sharing, I thought a kind of funny but interesting article that you read on Reddit. Why don't you elaborate on that? Their war against AI.
Yeah, so Reddit is having a war against AI. They don't want AI hosting. They don't want AI helping anybody post, doing any of the writing, doing anything, to managing photos, whatever. They want no AI presence in Reddit whatsoever. And they're spending a lot of money to develop software to detect it and prevent it from being used in Reddit. Simultaneously, and probably actually the main reason, Reddit is making millions of dollars from OpenAI and from Google, where they have contracts to allow them to train their LLMs on the content in Reddit. So when you post something in Reddit, it is being mined specifically, then with permission from Reddit for those LLMs. And that's how Reddit's making a lot of their money today.
Yeah.
So it's important for them that for them to have a good product to sell to those, to OpenAI and Google, that they don't have that AI content, because this may be a little bit bigger picture thing too, right? LLMs need fresh human content. And right now, there was I think last time there's a system out there that can scan the entire internet, read the entire internet in 18 minutes.
Hmm.
Once you've ingested all that, where are you going to get the rest of your information tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody has to generate something new. And um, the current status of AI is that it doesn't generate new stuff. It finds things, it researches things, it puts things together that maybe you didn't think of that way, but it doesn't generate new stuff. It's the human brain that's generating the new stuff. And Reddit wants to make sure that they have a good source of the new stuff to be able to sell to those LLMs.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, I think that's it for the news. Just one other industry update I just wanted to highlight. We mentioned this last week, but it's going to continue to go. This promotion is actually running for the next couple months. So I wanted to highlight this one more time. Carl Polachek had put together a really cool program where he reached out to lots of industry experts and asked for them to put together some kind of promotion on free or heavily discounted offerings. And just a quick rundown. I'm gonna drop this in the show notes up on the website. But there's great free stuff available, no strings attached. But things, Carl Polachek is offering, free downloads and discount coupons for everyone who reaches out. Eric Simpson has got some free downloads. John Risco, Andrew Crawford, Bob Nitro, James Kernan. That guy has
That guy.
he's got help with valuations. Dave Sobel has some promotions out there. Michael Siggins, Chip Reeves with Bigger Brains. I love what he put together. Chip Reeves. We talked about this last week. The branded or co-branded co-pilot course for your clients. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
free. You could offer that. Free passes to technology events coming up. Uh, Computer recycling and discounts or free opportunities. Paul Green on the marketing side, MSP Marketing Edge, has got some free copies of white papers and campaigns. So there's all sorts of really cool offerings here. I don't have time to go through all of them. I'm just going to put the link into the show notes and you guys check them out. But take advantage of those because that's a huge offering. That's a huge offering. It depends on where you're at in your business, whether they're applicable to you or not. But I would just say there's pretty much something for everybody there.
Yep, I agree.
So awesome. All right. Well, Amy, any final words of wisdom you want to share with the group before we adjourn?
I just want to remind the group that at the top of the hour we talked about the cybersecurity issues
Yeah.
coming out of Iran. I did talk about that too in my Microsoft 365 newsletter. So if you guys aren't subscribed to that, head over to thirdtier.net. You'll get the little pop up, that you get on most websites, right? That's how you'll sign up for that newsletter. And then if you're interested in the mastermind groups, I actually have only 2 openings right now. So the first two people to come in, I don't expand these bigger than they are. We purposely keep, like you keep yours to 50. I keep
Mhm.
mine to 18. So this is a really, limited intimate, limited opportunity. And I've got two openings currently. So if you guys are interested in that, you can find the information over there on the website as well. Thirdtier.net.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, and if you're not a subscriber to her newsletter, please sign up. It's one of my favorite emails that I get on a consistent basis. It's great content. It's a great read. So check it out. All right, everybody, have a great week. Amy and I will see everyone back next week. And until then, sayonara. Thank you for tuning in to the SMB Community Podcast. If you found this interesting or fun, please subscribe, share with your friends, and give us a thumbs up on your favorite social media. We would love to hear from you, so reach out anytime on the website at smbcommunitypodcast.com.